Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the WA Running Podcast as we record on Monday, the 28th of April, 2025. A jam-packed episode this week as we cover local results that included the Anzac River Run on Friday and the Lake Rumble Run on Sunday. We also had some WA runners flying over to Ballarat to compete in the Valencia of the South, otherwise known as the Ballarat Running Festival. We also had some WA runners who spent copious amounts of money buying Tracksmith, Rabbit, Adidas and New Balance merchant gear with impressive results in the Boston and London marathons over the last 2 weeks. In our interview this week, we chat to Ben Tay and Ashleigh Yee from Team Tina on their Boston Marathon adventures last weekend. As always, across my screen is someone who has finally succumbed to peer pressure in our running WhatsApp chat and bought himself a new Garmin HR strap. Chris, the skater boy Shaw, how are you, mate?
I said, see you later, boy. Look, it's good to be a part of the club now, getting some accurate readings and, not sure where it's going to take me. Don't really care about oscillation or left-right balance, but, it's good to know that I'm not working quite as hard as my watch was suggesting that I am.
Yeah, excellent. How's your week been?
Been good, mate. It's a bit of a, I guess we talked about it last week. I hit my knee on the Saturday, so this week was a bit of management. I'm trying to stay on top of it, but nothing a few anti-inflammatories and a bit of rest couldn't fix. So ended up having a little bit of a rest on Tuesday after my easy run on Monday, and that seems to have kind of knocked it on the head somewhat. There's still a bit of residual awareness there, I guess you could say. No pain, but just the knee does feel almost like tight, I guess, in some points of runs. But I mean, this morning I took off. It was a bit because it's colder now. It's maybe a little stiff at the start, but once I got into it, all good. In terms of sessions this week, I think I ended up managing about 125 Ks for the week and had a really great long run with Ordwin out in the bush yesterday. We went out to a place which I'd never been before. It's kind of at the back of Kalamunda, I guess. It was Carragullen Oval. Basically we went on this 2-hour 45 run over the hills there, basically wide gravel fire trails for the most part, and did not see a single soul for 31 kilometres until right toward the end. I mean, granted, we did start at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was pitch black for the first basically hour of the run, on and headlamps. But beside that, it was magic. The weather conditions these days seem to be getting better and better. I think there was points where we dropped into the valley, and it felt like 3 degrees. I had no gloves, so my hands were freezing. Couldn't use my phone or my watch. But awesome to be running in these cool conditions again.
Not many sessions this week. So we return to doing sessions this coming week. So knees good enough to put a bit of pace in the legs?
Yeah. I guess the run that you and I did and Matt did on Thursday, where we ran through Kings Park, was a bit of a tester to see if I could put a little bit of load through the knee. So we weren't running particularly quick, but we were, I guess, going harder than easy, and that felt good. And then Sunday was the next test to see if I could run for more than 2 hours, and that worked as well. So tomorrow we'll be back to regular programming. I've got a couple of sessions planned this week. The order of which I do them is we'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. But no, feeling good. How was your week, mate? Couple of big ones on the weekend.
Yeah, big. Yeah, it's starting to ramp up. So I did 118 Ks for the week, and this is week 2 of the block. So the big session this week is the Saturday tempo, which has now increased to 3 by 20 minutes at tempo effort with a 2-minute jog recovery in between. Usually our Saturday sessions are at Scabs, and because of the dark mornings, it's now been pushed to 6:30 for a start, which is a bit late for me in terms of getting a long session in and being home in time. I think I had a kid's birthday party I had to go to afterwards. So I decided to join the early bird crew, which is made up of Loz and Shaf down at Gallup with the 3 by 20 with a warm up and cool down. That's, an hour 40 ish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a long session. And yeah, that went really well. Unfortunately, Shaf and Loz and Tom Tej actually also came down. But with Loz, Shaf, and Tom, their warm up pace is a little bit too quick for my liking. So very quickly, I had lost them instantly. They were running way ahead of us. So I was just chatting to Ash, and then as we finished off our warm up, so we were sort of wrapping around, I guess, a corner of Gallop, and then they disappeared. So I just assumed that they went straight into the first 20-minute rep. So I followed suit and started my rep, only to realize that I couldn't even see them in the distance. So after I made the turn, there was that freeway stretch.
Yep.
Didn't see them at all, and just figured that maybe they just went so quick that I couldn't see them. And I thought it was a good idea then to then turn around and do my rep the other way around in the opposite direction in the hope that I would see them again. Anyway, went around the opposite direction, and I was probably halfway through the rep when I realized that perhaps after the warm-up, they just went back to their cars to change shoes or have a drink or whatever. So I had already started my rep. So what ended up happening was I was maybe half a rep ahead of them when I did finally reach them on the other side. But that actually, it turned out okay, because it meant that they were ahead of me, and then I would be ahead of them every time we would start our 2-minute jog. So from a motivation point of view, it was okay, because Loz and Shaf go at a ridiculous tempo pace. Loz's actual tempo pace and Shaf's VO2 pace. And then when they hit their jog recovery, then I would overtake them, and then they would chase me. So vice versa. So yeah, cool. My paces end up being really good. I hit 353 to 355 pace over the 3 reps, which I'm not 100% sure if that is my tempo effort or not, but because of the cooler mornings, it does feel roughly tempo effort. So we'll see how that progresses when I do different variations of the tempo workouts over the block. But really happy with that. That was 25 Ks on Saturday in total. And then I did 2 hours 30 on Sunday, which added 32 Ks. So 57 Ks over Saturday, Sunday. And the tempo sessions get longer and the long runs get longer. So I'm in for a treat over the next 8 weeks.
Yeah. I guess the question I had was, who took the Pulitzer Prize winning photo of you looking like a zombie on Saturday?
Credit goes to Ashleigh Yee for taking that photo. So I can't remember. I don't exactly know what I was doing, but clearly Ash took the right money shot at the right moment. So, looked like a corpse, from The Walking Dead. And that's probably how I felt towards the end of that 3rd rep, to be honest. So very fitting. Shall we go straight to results?
Let's do it. I suggest we've got the Anzac River Run here. So that was hosted by Fitness Results, which is a local gym to me. They're down at Tompkins Park in Alfred Cove. There's a couple of distances there. There was an 8K and a 4K. In the women's race of the 4K, we had Amelia Nutman winning in a time of 17:09, followed by Naomi Muleman, who I believe was one of the medalists at the Bridges 5K the other week. She ran 17:51, and Lucy Minchin coming 3rd in 18:24. Now, in the men's, we had my nemesis, Christian Perkis, running a very swift 4K at 13:36. And followed by Daniel Nikraz in 14:24, and then Jake Stott coming in 3rd in 14:32. Not sure I can keep up with Christian these days by the sounds of it. 13:36 is pretty rapid.
Looks like he's growing.
Yeah, he's hit puberty. So in the 8K, we had the men's, we had Luke Jones coming first in 25:44. followed not far behind by Michael Carroll in 25:54, and then he just pipped the young man Callum Cumming 25:58. So Callum's a local to me. He runs the Applecross Park Run quite frequently, and usually is running around 18-minute effort. And there's been a couple of times that I've gone down there and think, oh look, I can probably beat this guy. But then there've been times where he's run a 16-minute 5K, and it's like, oh, he's just doing like a tempo. So Michael did well to get over the line in front of Callum there. So in the women's, we had Jen Jones winning in 33:46, followed by Hardy Palmer in 33:58, and then finally Karis Rogers in 35:17. Simon, do you want to take us through the Lake Rumble Run, otherwise known as the Timu Joondalup Running Festival?
Yes, that was on Sunday morning. So essentially, the Lake Rumble Run is an out and back course on the west side of Lake Joondalup. And so you kind of run in one direction, you hit sort of the end before you start the loop around, but then you turn around and come back, you go past the start of the Joondalup Park Run, and then you head in the opposite direction. You effectively head towards Ocean Reef to then turn back around. So depending on your distance, you'd be doing 1, 2, or 3 laps of that. So we'll start with the 5K. So in the men's, we had Jordan Stobbart taking the win in 17 minutes 55. Now, Jordan, I believe, did the community run with us earlier this year on the 18th of Jan and ran a sub 17 minutes. So he's pretty swift, but took out the win in 17:55. Coming second is Cooper McDonald in 21:19, and coming third is Tom Baker in 21:25. In the women's, we had Charlotte Bryant taking out the win in 22:44, Natasha Mazak in 28 minutes 29 seconds, and Lauren, how would you say that last name?
Wohas.
Oh, very good. In 28 minutes, 57 seconds. In the 14K, in the men's, that was taken out by avid listener Liam Dardengo in 47:38. So he was looking very swift, heading up and down Lake Joondalup there, just behind the lead bike. Coming second was Matt Laspina in 55 minutes 36, and coming third is Aaron Tav in an hour, 6 minutes and 10 seconds. In the women's, that was taken out by Emily Murray in an hour and 9 minutes and 21 seconds. Coming second was Freya Walsh in 1 hour, 9 minutes and 38 seconds. So pretty close there. And then coming third is Rihanna Williams in an hour, 10:50 seconds. In the 21K, in the men's, it was taken out by Bruce Campbell in a time of 1 hour and 19 minutes and 39 seconds. Now, in brackets there, you've got Star of Evil Dead. What's that in reference to?
Evil Dead is a film series back in the 80s, I guess, and Bruce Campbell was the lead actor in those movies.
Oh, okay. Yep. For those playing at home. Coming second was Nate Walsh in 1 hour, 28 minutes and 24 seconds. And coming third was Wade Tawano in 1 hour, 29 and 40 seconds. A shout out to our mate Will Hammett for running a 20k PB. I think he was initially third place, but then slipped to fifth for whatever reason. But I think his time was 1 hour 30, I'm going to say 39 from the top of my head. Probably a question for you, Chris. If Will were to be paced by a non-paying pacer at this event, do you think Will should have his time disqualified, or do you think that was a legitimate time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. In the women's, so it was a tight finish there. So we've got Amy McKenna taking out the win in 1 hour, 41 minutes and 40 seconds. And closely behind was Alicia Bruce in 1 hour, 41 minutes and 43 seconds. And then coming third is Joanna Pint in 1 hour, 46 and 20 seconds. In the 28K, in the men's race, that was taken out by Liam Fury in a time of 1 hour 42 minutes and 44 seconds. Coming second was Yoshi Moroi in 1 hour 48 minutes and 38 seconds. And coming third is Sam Walker in 1 hour and 54. In the women's race, that was taken out by, Sean Livingston in a time of 2 hours 11. Christella Taylor coming second in 2 hours 12 minutes. And Jill Pope coming third in 2 hours and 17 minutes. We'll move on to the marathon, and the men's race was taken out by the infamous John Pence in a time of 2 hours 52 minutes and 59 seconds. Coming second was Robert Morales Hernandez in a time of 3 hours and 6 minutes. And coming third is Darren Chandler in a time of 3 hours 7 minutes. Wasn't Darren the assist at Hurdies this year?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so he's bouncing back with a tidy marathon there. So congrats, Darren. In the women's race, that was taken out by Lauren Evans in a time of 3 hours 27 minutes. Coming second was Michaela Madden in a time of 3 hours 49. And coming third is Nancy Ashby in a time of 3 hours and 49 minutes. All right, let's move on to WA results of the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, look, there were about 1,000 people from WA that went over to Boston and competed on last weekend. And because it happened on Monday evening last weekend, we didn't get in a chance to cover it. So, no, some fantastic running over there last week. It was good to see Pat Tiernan actually kind of hustle and bustle with the big fellas up the front group for the first half of that race, going through in 101, but ended up in a 208. So maybe not quite a PB for Pat, but I think he's having run a 207, but representing quite strongly in that race. And yeah, awesome to see. Okay, in terms of WA reps, so we had Ashleigh Yee and Ben Tay of... we've actually got multiple Team Tina names, so I'm not going to try and group them. I think we're going to go Ashleigh Yee with a 3:12 PB there, having come off of qualified for Boston from her run at Gold Coast last year. Then we had Ben Tay running sick to a 2:48, jogging in the last 15 Ks and still running a 2:48. Basically a dream marathon for you and I. So fantastic running from Ben. We had our foreign correspondent Kat Watt running another sub-3, a 2:58 there. Fantastic efforts, Kat. We had your mate Aboud Al Natour running a 3:48, having run his A race probably 4 weeks before he turned up for Boston, unfortunately. But unfortunately, I think Aboud had maybe a niggle going into that race and managed to still pull together a run and enjoy the experience. We had Callum Corliss in a 3:53 there, Alan Morrison in a 3:54, so right by each other there, Nadine Perlin in 4:03. We had Alaric and Polly Phillips running together for a 3:37, and finally Gary Langham in a 3:48. So a pretty strong contingent of WA runners there. We'll get to it when we show everyone the interview we had with Ashleigh and Ben, but yeah, it sounded like an incredible experience and definitely probably high on the bucket list for me in terms of if I'm one to do one, it's probably got to be that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've probably missed plenty of other WA runners who flew over to do Boston or London, but some impressive performances all round. I can get straight into London marathon that was on yesterday. So I'm pretty sure we would have missed heaps of runners on our list, but some performances to note from us was Ryan Shand, who squeezed in a sub-3 at a time of 2 hours 59 minutes and 39 seconds. So that would be my dream result come Gold Coast in a couple of months' time. We had Gary Langham, who backed up Boston. I think he seems to be doing this multiple years, so an absolute weapon of a performance here by Gary. So I think he might have done Bunbury the week prior, Boston, and now London. So he did London in a time of 5 hours 58. So it's probably a more of a enjoying the experience type run for him. And then we've got Alice Bailey from Team Tina running a PB in 3 hours 30. And I'm sure that there's other performances that we've missed out there. Shall we move on to the Ballarat marathon?
Yeah, definitely. So look, we'll start this one from the bottom. I think in the half we had James Heggie, which is number 1, number 2 ticket holder, if I'm not mistaken, running a 1:15 there. We had Stefan Dean Smith in 1:17 and Susie McMahon running 1:23, which is, if I'm not mistaken, a Masters record. So yeah. Awesome running, Susie. I mean, we see Susie every Thursday at Gallup, running with the front runner group and always kind of leading from the front. So great running there. In the marathon, we had, there must have been a massive contingent of front runner athletes that went over for this race. Maybe last year's the bit of maybe listening to Inside Running podcast has probably gotten a few people amped for Ballarat being the Valencia of the South. But we had Ollie Palmer running I think an 18-minute PB to run a 2:24, which is effing phenomenal. I mean, to not only have run a 2:42 in your lifetime, but then to go and run 18 minutes faster again and run a 2:24 is incredible. So congratulations, Ollie. We had Daniel Yaxley, coached by Matt Maguire, running a 2:59.06 PB. I'm not sure if that's the first sub-3 for Daniel, but yeah, no doubt. An incredible achievement to run any sub-3 hour marathon. Vanessa Bull running a 3:20. We had our mate, friend of the show, avid listener, and as Crap like to call him, the Weasel, Zane Walsh, running 3:01 there. Another PB for Zane, and after an incredible training block with Tina. Yeah, and I did see a photo from him with 3 scoops of ice cream the night before the race, so he's on the right track. We had Jerry Hill running a very swift 2:40. We had Joe McKillop running a 2:56. And our fellow podcasters, Ryan Greenwood running a 2:27 PB, and Dean Menzies running 2:18 and finishing third on the podium. I'm not sure who won the Bix Gels competition for his time, but I guess we'll find out in the next couple of days.
It was not me.
Yeah, unfortunately. But look, I think with Dean's probably satisfied he's got another check to cash there, because Matt Smarilli's run away with his prize money from Bunbury Marathon a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, look, fantastic running from everyone on that list. And, yeah, look, that's also on the list for me in terms of, marathons to do. It seems to be getting a lot of hype, and, yeah, conditions can sometimes be interesting in Ballarat from what I've gathered, but pretty flat and fast and well as far as organisation goes, apparently up there with the best in Australia. So worthwhile checking out in future. We've got one other here from Hamburg Marathon. We had Benjamin Madsen running a 3:07. Apparently not 100% from travel to London and into Germany, but unfortunately the body didn't quite feel very good at 20k in. But nevertheless, a fantastic run put together there, Ben, and congratulations on your 3:07.
Yeah, so in terms of what's coming up, it seems like it's marathon upon marathons over the next couple of months. So we've got the Adelaide Running Festival next week. So rumour has it that Kate Baker's making the trip over to run the marathon there. I believe she's backing that up the following week doing Margaret River Ultra, and I think she's doing the full event.
Wow.
And then she's probably going to do Rottnest to defend her crown. So it's going to be a big couple of months there for Kate. I know Tom Tedge is also heading over to do the 10K. And then you've got Lisa Tyack from Team Tina also running the marathon as well. So I think I'm sure there's a couple of other names flying over for Adelaide as well. So we wish those guys the best of luck.
Did Lisa finish third at the half at Bunbury, or is that some other race that I'm thinking of?
Lisa came third.
Was it Bridges?
Bridges, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's say it was Bridges, and it's now history and fact.
I'm about 90% sure she came third at Bridges.
Yep.
I remember saying something along the lines of, still running a quick, swift 10K, despite the fact that she's in the middle of a marathon build. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get straight to our interview. We had the chance to speak to Ashleigh Yee and Ben Tay from Team Tina on their experience at the Boston Marathon last weekend. So without further ado, here is our chat with Ash and Ben. So we're joined by not one, but two absolute weapons from the Team Tina stable. So we'll start with my first person on the screen. She's one of, if not the youngest member of the Ben Tay Run Club, I think. But she's someone who I think Tina would say is the coach's dream after nailing her own training block in the lead up to Boston and nailing Boston last week. So Ashleigh Yee, welcome to the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And then on the other side of my screen is someone who seems to be developing a reputation for running marathons while sick as a dog, running a very swift 2 hours 48 at last week's Boston Marathon, the CEO and the supreme leader of Ben Tay Run Club. Ben Tay, welcome to the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks, guys. You give me too much credit. Thanks for having me.
No, all good. All right, we'll start with you, Ash. So you've been training the bloody house down since the start of the year with Tina, peaking at, I think, 130 Ks at 1 week. So how was training for you in the lead up to Boston, and what were your expectations coming into it?
Well, I'm very new to this whole training thing. I kind of didn't really know what I was doing. So at the end of last year, when I found out I got into Boston, I thought it's probably a good time I should get a coach. So as you do, I slid into Tina's DMs and I thought, why not, heard great things about her. I can't really run a world major by myself, so thought, why not? The worst she can do is reject me. A few moments later, I was accepted and she said, I would love to coach you. I was like, well, this is great. So from then I started probably my build end of December. I was starting from like zero. I just come back from Japan. Didn't really have much of a base. So we started from basically no fitness. And then from there, we kind of just build up week by week, slowly. The next minute, I was running 130 Ks a week, which was news to me. Apparently, that's normal, according to everyone else in the squad, I quickly realised. So, yeah, all the sessions kept building. Long runs got longer, very long, as you will know. Questioned my sanity several times through the block. I remember seeing my plan because she planned out my long runs so I could see the rest of the block. And I think I counted about 5 3-hour plus runs. And I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I'm a bit slower than everyone else. So makes sense that I have to run over my predicted finish time. And then now seeing all your Gold Coast blocks, I figured out that you guys have to do it too. So that makes it feel a bit better. But yeah, the build was fun. It was really hard, very different to what I'm used to, as I've never been properly coached. So sessions, the VO2s, I think I struggled the most. Running around a track, 25, 400s, really not the best time, but we got through it. And I think, yeah, I'm very happy with how the build went, and everything Tina did for me really showed on race day, I think. So yeah, very happy.
So before Tina, then you've done marathons before. So what was training for those marathons compared to this coming build?
I wouldn't say I've done marathons properly. I've done 2 before Boston. So I did Sydney in 2023. That was the kind of just do it, finish, don't die.
Yep.
Had a very traumatic experience. It was really hot that year. I walked the last 5Ks. And as you say, when you do your first marathon, you'll never do one again. So I said to myself, that was traumatic. I hate myself. I'm never going to do it again. Next minute, my friend and I decided, let's do Gold Coast, because I've never been to Gold Coast. Why not? Next minute, somehow ended up qualifying for Boston in that one. Don't ask me how. Also was not coached, so kind of wrote my own training plan. I have a friend who is a coach, so she helped me a little bit, just being like, oh, you should build your long runs, maybe do a few sessions. But yeah, kind of winged it. Wouldn't recommend. So no experience, I would say.
Yeah. but you ended up nailing this block and then nailing the race itself, right? So what did Tina say to you before you flew over to Boston, like in terms of predicted times or expectations?
Well, she said the main thing, obviously it was my first major, and she said, I don't know how you'll go with all the travel. It's a lot on your body to just get over there. The fact that you're able to say you did the block, no niggles throughout the whole block. You've done every session. I couldn't have asked anything more. I was just happy to be able to go there and do my best. She did give me a time range, which kind of scared me initially. So she said 305, low 305 to 310 was the range, depending on how I went. And then once we got over there, when we ended up driving the course the day before, Ben, Abud, and I was like, yeah, look, we saw the hills, and I was like, yep, 305. Let's can that one. So I decided more 310 ish. I was like, I think I can cruise through that and still enjoy. And like the main thing was to have fun. She said, you're flying halfway across the world to run your first major. The main thing is to have fun and enjoy the experience, which I did. So I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Wonderful. Excellent. And how about yourself, Ben? So I believe training started to ramp up for you either post Matilda Bay or just beforehand. So what was training like sort of in the months leading up to Boston?
Yeah, so this time around, it's been my 11th marathon. Just tried. Yeah, this time around was slightly different in the sense that a few more hills thrown into the mix. If I can look back at New York when I did that last year, compare that block to the Boston block, I would say I focused a lot more on just getting more elevation into my weekly runs. And that obviously had, I did kind of pay for it through a couple of niggles in my glute and my hammy, which I ended up just having to kind of manage in the last few weeks of my marathon block this time around. But other than that, I think it was a fairly stock standard block, maybe a bit more larger workouts this time around. But yeah, I think it was otherwise fairly stock standard 12-14 week block.
Yeah. And because I think you also maxed out at about 130. So is that sort of your happy range in terms of mileage?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've trialed with Tina as well. I've trialed different ways of training. I think the very first block I did with Tina, I think I maxed out at about 150 Ks. But for me, I find that sweet spot for me at 130. And by sweet spot, I mean getting mileage in, but at the same time being able to nail or hit those sessions with at pace, and you get that VO2 or threshold benefit from the session. Obviously for everyone that magic number varies, and it's not just I think for people, especially people just starting marathon training, often think more is better, but that with experience that there is a sweet spot, right? If you do too many Ks, you get fatigued and you pay for it in your sessions, and you're not, you won't get as much out of those sessions as you would feeling maybe slightly fresher, right? And being able to nail those sessions. So again, for anyone starting out marathons, or, I'd encourage you to, it's trial and error, right? And everyone's different. So don't just go in with the mindset 150, 160 Ks because that's what the pros are doing. 90% of us are not pros, right? So just if there's one piece of advice is go along, try and error and see where you land. So everyone's different.
No, great. I think that it's a common pitfall that we do see people around us, especially on Strava, like running 150, 160K weeks. It's easy to get carried away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, as you said, Ben, like putting effort into your sessions is what's going to get you confident for race day, right? Rather than rocking up tired to everything.
100%.
Yeah. This is probably a question for both of you. Boston's one of those races where, people, it's probably, what is it, the oldest world marathon major, and, has some of the biggest crowds on offer for all of those majors. And there's some pretty iconic, sections of that course. There's the Newton Hills, there's Wellesley College, and of course Boylston Street. Is there a favourite section of the course that you experienced last weekend?
I would have to say the Wellesley Scream Tunnel. That was just something everyone said you can't miss it. It's 1K straight of people screaming at you. Like, you could hear it from, I think it was at like 25K it started. You could hear it at 24K already. And you can just hear, it's just lined with people screaming, high-fiving you. Like, it was actually insane. Like, I was just so hyped and it was crazy. Like, so much fun.
How about you, Ben?
For me, I actually enjoyed the first few kilometres of that run. Not because it was downhill, but it was just it's just one of those unique courses. And if I look back at the 4 other majors I've done before this, it's a very unique course in the sense that you are running in the countryside, and whoever would have thought that you'd have thousands of people cheering you on in the countryside. That itself, for me, was a very special experience. It's not like in New York where you get 2 million people, but you're running in the urban city, right? You're literally in the countryside. Just a few houses, when you're running through the little towns, just a few houses lining you, like lining the roads, but there's thousands of people on the course itself. So I really enjoy the first few kilometers as well because you're in the woods. Do you know what I mean? You got these magnificent trees in the background, and yet there's thousands of people on the road cheering on. I think that was, for me, the first few. I really enjoyed the vibe the first few kilometers.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a phenomenal experience. I mean, I find it hard to regulate my emotions when I'm running through the halfway mark at Bunbury Marathon and there's maybe 30 people cheering me on. But doing that through the, Wellesley Scream Tunnel, how did you going through a kind of 25K, as you said, Ash, like, how do you regulate yourself in a situation like that where you're so pumped, but then suddenly you realize you've got to run another 17 kilometers to the finish?
I think I was just so high on adrenaline because they say before going into the race, everyone says that's like the last bit that really hypes you up before you enter the Newton Hills. So that was just a time where I just tried to just enjoy it, take it all in, because I knew from then on what everyone was telling me on the bus ride there, that's when it starts to get harder. So everyone said that's your halfway marker instead of actually the half marathon. So I kind of just was smiling and just taking in all the energy and just really I was just smiling and I was just vibing and having the best time. Everyone was just so happy. So I think I was just trying to be present in the moment and enjoy it.
That's great. I guess for the both of you, was there a key to your success at Boston? I mean, was like all these you've both mentioned hill sessions and kind of long tempos. Do you think obviously it has to be a combination of all? But I mean, is there something that you feel gave you the confidence going into this race?
I would say the hilly sessions. For me, that was the main difference that, compared to previous blocks. And visibly, I could feel the difference. And, given the course as well, having driven it the first day, look, they're not hard hills, right? They're kind of grinding, longer hills, and there's kind of respite in between those in the hills. So, and the rest of the course, they're mostly just rolling hills. So I feel like those sessions along the coastal path that we did on Saturday mornings up north towards Trigg and Hillary's, for me, that really made the difference and gave me the confidence.
Yeah. How about you, Ash?
Yeah, I'm the same. I was dumb in the middle of my block and then I decided to tell Tina, I don't think I'm doing enough hills. So she decided from then on, bad decision. Looking back now, I was doing hilly long run Wednesday, then I was doing scenic walk Thursday, Saturday tempos along like the Scarborough Trig bit, and then BTRC would take me into Bold Park on Sundays. So I was doing hills like 4 times a week. So the Thursday was probably not needed, going up and down scenic walk. by myself at 5:30 a.m. was not the most fun part of the block, but I think overall, like, everyone hypes the hills up. They tell you they're so hard, like, you better pace yourself, but I actually found them not too bad. So I think all the hills must have done something in training, so I'm happy.
For sure.
Yeah.
And like Ash, this was your first marathon major. Like, how would you rate? I mean, you've also run Sydney and Gold Coast, which are probably Australia's two biggest marathons. How would you compare that experience in Boston to those experiences? And do you have any recommendations for or tips for others considering Boston as their first major?
I just think the crowds. Everyone was telling me how much how much hype the majors have, but Boston, I wasn't expecting every section of the course to have people. Like, I don't think there was a single moment where someone wasn't cheering for you or yelling or encouraging you. Like, everyone through each town, it was just constant streams of people, which I think I
And
liked
even
it.
in between,
Yeah.
the towns, there were people there.
Yeah, there
It
were
was
people everywhere. Like,
amazing.
every turn, there'll be more people. Up a slight incline, there'll be more people. So I think it's good if you like crowds. I really like the energy that everyone gives around you, but some people don't enjoy big lots of people and they prefer to, like, just lock in and keep to themselves. But I think if you enjoy the atmosphere and you thrive off other people's energy, I would recommend doing a major. It's just something else that I don't think any other, well, my other two events I've done, my other marathons in Australia can replicate. But hopefully Sydney now becoming a major. Hopefully it can not match Boston, but
Be up there.
get closer to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Ben? So this is marathon major number 5, is that right? So how did Boston compare to your other major experiences?
I would say it surprised me at first because obviously, look, there obviously wasn't the same amount of crowds as there were, in New York or London, even Berlin. Yet it felt like there were a lot of people, and maybe it's because of the background. It felt like up at Ash, correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like there were a lot of people. So I would say it's from a crowd perspective, it's in its own league, right? It's very hard. I mentioned this before. It's very hard to compare Boston, the atmosphere, to the other majors because all the other majors are in cities. So yeah, I would say definitely up there. But for me, I guess from a crowd perspective, and look, don't get me wrong, I love the energy the crowds give, especially in the US, right? So my favorite majors are probably New York being the first. New York's just amazing from a crowd atmosphere perspective. And then probably, Chicago and Boston are kind of, comparable, but again, very different races. The Americans put on a great show when it comes to these majors. It's just, unrivaled anywhere else. Look, London was great. Berlin, enjoyed Berlin as well. But I think for me, it had to be New York from an energy perspective.
I guess, Ash, that's the next one on the list then, isn't it?
I think I'm too slow to get into that.
Look, London's great. If you get into London next, London's amazing.
I guess one of the challenges with going overseas and running a race on foreign soil is you can maybe be taken out of your kind of comfort zone in terms of having your typical morning routine of carb loading and your dinner the night before. I mean, was there? How did you guys approach it? Like, were you calculating the number of carbs you're having, or were you doing something maybe less calculated?
Definitely. I would say it's spot on, Chris. The challenges of traveling, especially long haul, for us it was like over 30 hours to get to the US. Is nutrition number one, and you're not sitting in an apartment every day before the marathon, right? Because it'll just be a complete waste of time. You're kind of there. you want experience. Boston's a lovely city. You want to be out there, but at the same time, you're always conscious that, am I walking too much? I think Ash was counting her steps, like, I've done 20,000 steps already. I'm like, okay, well, you got another 10,000 more because we got to get back. But yeah, look, I think for me, I obviously wasn't snacking as much as I would have liked, and you don't realise that sort of stuff. So it does make the whole travel run thing a little harder. Is your meals and calorie intake. But yeah, I think we cooked most of the nights, so we still got a decent meal in. I think that's always one of my requirements, is that when I do travel for a race, I like to have my own cooking, kitchenette facilities, because then you can actually eat more if you need to. The other thing is obviously sickness, which Simon mentioned before. I was maybe not as bad, on the verge of being sick as a dog, but not quite there. That's the other challenge. Is unfortunately this time around I kind of succumbed to the cold. I don't think it was on the flight. It's probably somewhere in Boston. I just picked it up. But that's the other thing, is the long haul flight. Your body's immunity's down, on top of the training as well. You've had to travel 30 hours to get there. It's very easy to pick up a cold or a bug from your surroundings. So I think those two are the biggest challenges.
For sure. Any points you want to share, Ash?
I think we controlled as much as we could while we were there. We tried to make sure we were eating well, sleeping well. I don't know, Ben had a few issues with the sleeping part, but I'm pretty good. I told myself jet lag is a mindset. You push through once you're over there, and then it's all good. So I don't know. I think.
Remember, Ash, you've got over 10 years on me.
Yeah, I was going to say you're only 23.
Yeah, I'm 36, so
maybe that helps as well. But
age does play a factor.
does it?
Yep.
Is that why I recovered well too?
I think so. I think so. Hey, look, I did Chicago 2 years ago, and that was my dream run. And 2 years later, I'm 2 years older, and I'm getting these I can't sleep. I don't travel as well as I used to 2 years ago, and it's only 2 years.
Yeah, I know. It's all gone downhill, Ben. Yeah. So what were your expectations? So you were, not 100% leading into it. So the morning of the race, did you change your game plan, or how did the race pan out for you?
I think I was in denial. I was definitely in denial. I was thinking, look, I'm there. I had congested nose, but I went, look, I just go out with plan A. If and listen to my body. If my body said no, I'll slow down, and I think that's pretty much what happened. So, I knew it wasn't going to be an A race, but I set out as if it was going to be an A race, and look, I think I actually surprised myself. I got to the halfway mark, still felt great. I think I split the first half in 1:18 or something like that. So, I was under my target pace, which I would have loved a sub 2:40 on that course. But come 25 kilometers, it was a weird feeling. I had these pins and needles sensation in my legs, and I thought to myself, "Whoa, I don't think I've ever had that before." My heart rate was normal. It was 170, 171, 172, which is usually where I sit in a marathon pace. But I think for me, that telling point was the tingling sensation in my quads. And I'm going, okay, yeah, maybe this is not right. I probably should slow it down. And, obviously it timed perfectly with the hills. And so I just took a back seat and, look, it gave me the opportunity to actually be fully present in the race, enjoy the crowds, the atmosphere, the iconic course, and soak it all in. And so, I think, that for me, obviously wasn't, what I planned. but you salvage it, and I think you're traveling halfway across the country, the world, sorry, I should say, to attend an event. You may as well enjoy it, right? There's nothing worse than struggling, pushing through, killing yourself for how many Ks, 10 Ks, and come to the end of the race, you're like, oh gee, I hated that, or I don't even remember what happened in the last 10 Ks, because you were in that pain box, and you're just so shut out from the surroundings. So yeah, look, it worked out, well for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm not disappointed with my time. It was, for me, I feel like it was the best I could give on that day itself.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we live to fight another day.
Excellent. Beautiful. All right. So speaking of that, what's next for you both? So I'll start with you, Ash. So is it a full send at HBF? Is that the short-term goal at this stage?
Oh, I'm still in two minds about HBF. I think I'm still jogging for the next 3 weeks, so I don't know how well HBF will go. I'm willing to give it a good crack. Everyone says after a marathon block, you smash PBs about 5 to 6 weeks after. So I'm hoping that pulls me through. Shaf has offered to pace me for HBF, which I'm still in two minds about. Chris shaking his head saying no. I mean, would be a guaranteed PB, but with his pacing, I'm unsure if that's the best option. So we'll see with that one, but aim is to see if I can PB at HBF for sure. And then, I've got Sydney later this year as well, Sydney Marathon. Need redemption after my trauma from 2023, so hopefully that one goes better.
Yeah. Will you be asking Tina for more hills?
No, definitely not. She did already tell me the other day that she would be sending a few of us Sydney crew down to some trail run that's in the middle of nowhere. And then Tom also wants to take me to Death Valley, which already sounds scary. So I might decline that one, but no more hills.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Ben? So you've just got Tokyo to go, right? In terms of the 6 star, is that right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that your next race, or are you thinking of a couple of local marathons?
I will, from a marathon perspective, I've got into Melbourne, so that'll be my second one this year, and then yes, I will be putting my name down in the ballot for Tokyo. Hopefully, I get the that wildcard entry because it's my 6th. But we'll have to wait to see what Abbott says about that.
Yep, excellent. And finally, I think since we've got the CEO of BTRC, so we've done a recent merch drop in the last couple of months or so. Are we expecting a couple of more singlets or different merch to come in the next year?
The last time we did it, Simon, was 2 years ago. So it's been 2 years in the making.
Yep.
And I think this year was, we bit off a bit more than what we could chew. I think we had over 40 tops that we had to organise. It was just me and Liam Sherwin, basically the two of us pulling everything together and getting it organised. And I think we both looked at each other in the end and went, that wasn't as easy as we expected. So look, I think it might be another year at least before we consider another merch drop. But yeah, look, I think next time we might actually have to do it. We source this thing, but we source the tops ourselves and the printing ourselves. I think it might just be easier next time to just handball it to the professionals to get it sorted. It's a bit too hard to organise ourselves. But yes, give us a break in at least a year before we start thinking about the next merch drop.
Yeah, that's good.
Speaking of merch, I think we mentioned before we started recording that Ben's got his Boston Athletics Association jumper on here. Did you guys walk away with hundreds of dollars worth of kit, or
How can you not, right?
Yeah.
That's like, this bloody jacket costs $120. Like, do you know what I mean? You can only get, one or two pieces, and you're already blowing the budget. Like,
Don't you remember lining up, Ben? We saw the people in front of us, that guy that had like one jacket for each family member, 3 pairs of shoes.
It's ridiculous. Like, for someone that, being an accountant, someone that always gets sale price, shoes and gear, it's a big pill to swallow, having to fork out this much for full price for for merch. But hey, what I mean? It's once in a lifetime thing or not. So I think we just sucked it up.
Look, we'll wrap it up there, guys. Amazing to chat to both of you, and congratulations on your phenomenal results at an international marathon major. Performances that no doubt you're both very proud of. Excited to see what's ahead for you guys this year, and thanks for joining us on the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ash and Ben, for joining us tonight for their chat around their experiences of Boston Marathon and some exciting upcoming race plans, which include HBF, Melbourne Marathon, and hopefully Tokyo and Sydney later this year. All right, let's get straight to upcoming events. You want to kick us through some of the upcoming events in the local calendar?
Yeah. So this coming weekend, we've got a couple of things on. We've got the Fremantle Ports Harbour Master Classic hosted by the WA Marathon Club. That's Sunday, the 4th of May. There's a 5K and a 10K. The 5K will be the Henry Shaw Show. So I've signed him up. Weather's it's looking quite windy on Sunday, so I don't know what the appetite will be for running quickly, but excited to see what the kid can do.
What does Coach Chris say in terms of predictions? Because I'm sure he doesn't listen to this podcast. So, any wild predictions on what Henry will do come this Sunday?
Well, he has already told me he doesn't want to race it. He wants to jog it.
Classic sandbagger.
Yeah, massive sandbagger. Just playing down expectations. But look, there's a chance he'll run a 27-minute 5K here. Just because, the other day we went for a 3-kilometer jog, and we usually don't run consistently the full a 3K continuous jog, but we did the other day, and he was just talking the whole time. And what I would consider be kind of close to his 5K pace has now seemingly become an easy pace for him. So, yeah, look, I don't know what he's capable of yet, but we'll learn. Time will tell, and excited to take him down and have a bit of fun. We've also got the Salt Lake City Trail Race hosted by Secret Rocky Runners on Sunday. So there's a 6K, 12K, and 24K there. It's basically a 6K loop which you run around multiple times. That's down at Lake Walyangup in Rockingham, and so. The following weekend, we've got, as you said earlier, we've got Margaret River Ultra Marathon. That's on the Saturday and the Sunday, I believe. So I'm not 100% on what events are what. But yeah, they're basically everything's sold out. So unless you're running it already or you're going down to spectate, forget about it. There's Mother's Day Classic on the 11th of May. There's a 5K run/walk there. I think there's 2 start times for that, maybe 8 and 8:10, and then there's a 10K run as well. I've also signed Henry up for the 5K there.
Back-to-back PBs, hopefully.
Well, we will see. I think his friend Jack is running that race, and his old man is one of the sponsors for the event. So we'll go down there and be a part of that. Hopefully, have a bit of fun, put some pink on, and get amongst it. Yeah, it'll be good. And then obviously the big one is Simon's Long Run Route. That's the WA Marathon Club Joondalup Running Festival on the 18th of May. There's 5K, 10K, and half marathon. I believe all distances are still available. And look, it's getting bigger each year, this event. I think the last couple of years, the weather has been immaculate, literally 6 to 10 degrees and 0 wind. So hoping for another day like that. I believe you are sending that race, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Any expectations you wish to put on yourself on this podcast, mate?
So wild guesses at my pace. I will go out. Let's say I will go out at 82-minute pace and then see how I go. I don't know what pace it ends up being, but we'll start with 82-minute pace and then see where I end up with 5Ks to go.
Yep. Okay. So basically the tempo you ran on the weekend will be your half marathon pace. Yep. Very good. Okay, fantastic. And then we got the HBF Run for a Reason, of course. I believe the half is sold out, the 12K and the 3K are still available. That's on the 25th of May. So yeah, look, some great events coming up. It's the kind of best time of the year to be running in Perth. In WA in general, actually. So you've got half marathons and marathons pouring out of the seams, and looking forward to a few good results coming up in the next few weeks. Look, a bit of admin, Simon. We've got, as we announced last week, we've got Gold Coast Road to Paradise training series starts next week. So I think we might have mentioned it briefly on our podcast last week, but a big one to be ticking off next week, and I'm sure you're excited to be taking part in that as an athlete this time around. How does it feel to write all your own questions for the first episode?
Yeah, it feels amazing. So, it sort of eases the pressure knowing what the questions are beforehand. Meanwhile, Carlos, Loz and Rosie have no idea. So, sort of plays to my wheelhouse very well to have that prepared and ready to go. No, very excited. See how we go.
No, it's good. I mean, yeah, we've got a good selection of athletes there, and no doubt some exciting goals to be looking forward to. And I think one of the points that Sarah raised last week in her interview is to not place massive expectations on yourself through a marathon block. Just try and enjoy the process, and hopefully the added pressure of broadcasting your training on a podcast every week is
it's good for your mental health.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyhow, look, let's get to the weapons of warp, Simon. Look, there's a few here. I'll cover the locals and you cover the internationals, perhaps. We've got, as we mentioned earlier, Gary Langham, 3 marathons in 3 weeks. We got Bunbury, Boston, and then London. I'm not sure what time Gary ran at Bunbury, so we should probably check that. But incredible to be doing that. Over the course of 3 weeks, and I do wonder what the best experience was.
Clearly Bunbury.
It has to be. It wouldn't be anything other. We had Brian Lipp running 3 continents, 6 races in 14 days, which included Boston and London. Brian's, I think, a little bit older than us, but he looks like he's about 20 years younger than us. So, yeah.
He's got the secret sauce, I think, in terms of the potion of young age. But, mammoth effort there by Brian.
I wonder how many scoops he has the night before a race.
We'll have to DM Brian and find out.
Yeah, maybe we'll have him on. We've got one of the original hosts of this podcast, the infamous Dan Bowbridge, chasing the smoke this week, doing some reps at marathon pace, apparently. Are we going to see Dan run another marathon before baby number 2?
Yeah, I don't know when baby number 2 is due. I mean, he pulled out of Transcend, unless he's somehow scooped another Gold Coast ticket in the hopes of joining our Gold Coast series. But his marathon pace apparently is for 14s. So I am a little bit concerned because every time I see Dan at the Team Tina tempo sessions, he seems to heckle me for at least a good 40 minutes. So it gives me motivation to run a bit faster during the reps, but I don't know if he's just talking shit or whether there is a serious marathon that he's preparing for.
Yeah, I think he's shooting a few strays to keep everyone guessing, but that's Dan for you. We had, of course, Ryan Greenwood running Ballarat Marathon on the weekend. Look, for his encounter with the tax collector at 30 kilometres, that's worthy of a weapon nomination. Having also been a victim of the tax collector on 2 occasions, I do salute you, Ryan, and I sympathise with you. And look, maybe a 2:26 was was on the cards, but unfortunately, an hour and 3 seconds in the Portaloo at 30 Ks doesn't quite beat my record at Bunbury, but it comes close. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Ryan did a shit in 1 minute and 3 seconds. What's your record, out of curiosity?
Well, I'm going to say that my record, well, I like to say that it was 56 seconds because that's how much I missed out on sub 3 by at Bunbury, but I think it was more like 45. It was a very... I'm not going to say explosive, but it was a very quick experience and left little to be cleaned up afterwards. So yeah, it was good.
Wonderful, excellent. All right, we'll move on to our final two warp entries. So on the international stage, so I saw on Instagram the other week that Riley Kiernan had probably one of the impressive performances over the Boston weekend. So she ran the Boston 5K, and I think the 5K race must have been the day before. And so she ran a time of 19:36, which is pretty quick, but even more impressive that she was 8 months pregnant and running that time. So that was very impressive there by Riley. And then finally, I mean, over the weekend and over the last 2 weekends, we saw a lot of crazy performances from people dressing up in various costumes, including Crocs and jeans and all sorts. But I think the one that takes the cake for me is So Roy Young running a marathon in a suit in London in a swift time of 2 hours, 39 minutes and 57 seconds, which is now the Guinness World Record of said record. So, yeah, very impressive by the man. I don't know if it's the same guy, but there was a clip of Crago running Osaka Marathon, and there was a guy running in a suit, and it might be the same guy. So very impressive by So Roy Young there. Worthy member of a Weapon of Warp this week.
And I believe there was someone who ran something in Crocs as well, but you were maybe not willing to bring them up because you detest Crocs to a significant degree.
Yes, sorry, Mitch Gray. All right, that we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining us on episode 076 of the WA Running Podcast. We're going to take a break from the weekly record next week. So we'll start our Gold Coast Marathon training record next Wednesday with the hope of releasing that the following week. So that'll be our next episode release in just over a week's time. And until then, our Instagram handle is at WA Running Pod. Our email address is warunningpodcast@gmail.com. And our Strava group is Warp. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the WA Running Podcast.
See you guys.